Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan. Basically, today we are going to talk about the formula part, basically, and this is basically 45th number part, basically. Here, basically, we are going to talk about little bit about the formula, which is basically connected with the lands, basically. Lands basically means here, basically, we will take you law, basically, and rules, basically. For example, to create one text box, which it has taken thousand cities, right? This is basically so this number basically which I am telling that is not correct. It can be less also and it can be more also. Mostly it will be more only because it's one text box. If it takes thousand cities and it basically creates oil, petrols, and vegetables, each and everything basically. That means it's going to take more than thousand cities basically. So less, it's not possible basically. So basically, here we are talking about one topic that is basically earthquake. So basically, assume that in text box area some earthquake happened. Just assume basically. So how basically this might be happen? Then basically the in front of world basically the scene is like this that whatever earthquake happens that happens with the help of the tectonic plates basically. The tectonic plates get conflict. This basically is the in front of public basically we can say. But basically I have read it somewhere basically that it's not like that basically in front of public basically lots of things are that basically there basically, and in front of non-public basically in front of basically real world basically the totally earthquake definition is totally different basically. So basically we are going to talk about that only. That assume that thousand cities are connected, and that thousand cities basically is created from the text box, and on the base of text box basically the thousand cities has created vice versa basically you can say. So basically here the scenario is we are assuming that first thing is basically earthquake is not coming from tectonic plates. That is 100% sure. And another thing is how earthquake is coming basically. That basically we will say. For example, World Bank is telling that we have passed you the data for the 2000 buildings and the set of equipments and set of lands and set of objects, set of vehicles, set of each and everything basically you have provided to you have provided to us. So basically just assume basically if one vehicle is also getting purchased, the number of the vehicle basically which gets generated, that basically is also passed to the World Bank. So just assume basically up to what level the data is getting passed in the cities basically. So it's basically you can say very critical also and very dangerous also, because we don't know basically this each and everything basically which is actually the government task and government is doing basically. If wrong data is getting passed from the cities and the World Bank basically is passing according World Bank is trusting the city basically, then basically it's might create very big issue. That is 100% sure. But basically World Bank never trust the cities because they verify each and everything basically. Because ultimately anything happens to the city basically, then basically World Bank only have to give the money. So basically that if World Bank is giving the money, then basically they are supposed to be answered. They are going to be answered by some group, other group. Reason World Bank is also getting controlled by set of group basically who is handling the entire world. So basically, World Bank will never do this. They do the 100 time verification whether the data which has passed by the country of the states and the cities basically they do each and every verification. And if the wrong data is getting passed, then basically it's a World Bank. So they are very professional people. So basically, they give answer at that moment only. Basically, answer that might be in many ways. Basically, that's basically different topic. That also we will be discussing after some parts. Basically, how basically World Bank give the answer, and if the data provided by the cities and the state, the central government, how central government gets the answer by the World Bank. Basically, that basically is different topic. That also we are going to see that how World Bank controls the central governments basically. So now basically we are talking about the earthquake basically. The data has passed by the World Bank. So basically here we assume that each and everything is correctly passed. Few data might be wrong basically. So basically here assume that the World Bank has data has passed by the World Bank has passed the data on the base of city. data provided by the cities, by the states to the central, and according to that, the power data has been passed. That power data means the city is secure. So basically, city is secured. Why? Because the subscription data has passed by the by the World Bank. Basically, that's very simple. Basically, now after 44 parts, basically we have already discussed. This is basically very simple. Basically, that World Bank is passing the subscription. World Bank is passing the subscription data, and whatever subscription the central government has taken, according to that subscription taken by the central government, according to that only the data is getting passed. That's very simple. Basically, now basically after 44 parts, basically we have already seen. So now basically the subscription data is passed. Now basically just see how the earthquake is working basically in real scenario, basically in real, but in front of world basically, and in front of the public and in front of the news channel, basically it's tectonic plates which is basically telling that it's moving in underground basically. So that is all, that might be also correct basically, but here basically the scenario is totally different. Here basically we are seeing that the earthquake is coming from the top of the earth basically, you can say top side basically, wherever the buildings are standing, from there basically the earthquake is upper face of the earth basically, upper face of the land basically, you can say. So here basically the data which is getting passed by the power company and the World Bank, that basically also pass the data of the upper part of the land also. That's why basically each and every objects are standing at their position. So basically the data which is getting passed, just imagine how much powerful data might be, because it's so much powerful that the building basically does not go left side and right side also. That much powerful data they are passing. World Bank is passing to the power companies and power companies is passing to the city. So that the basically earthquake, if the data is getting passed wrongly, then basically 100% that buildings, that city basically buildings are going to shake. That basically given one name, that is basically earthquake. So the data which is getting passed, that should be 100% correct. And if data is not getting passed correctly, then basically verification happens. And then according to the data is getting passed. So that basically depends upon the history of the countries, basically how they have done the behaviors with the World Bank. Each and every things basically comes into picture basically when you are passing some wrong data, then basically how the World Bank is going to behave with you. So each and every things are there basically. So it's not like that it's a 1 or 2 day task basically, 1 or 2 day relationship with the World Bank basically. Countries have relationship with World Bank, but it's a very old relation, no? So according to, but World Bank also very, World Bank says that we are very professional, we are going to deal as a professional only. Whether the, for example, one in few Indian people have joined World Bank. So the prime minister told to that person that basically we are Indian, so do you have to do something for India? Then basically he told, no, sorry, we can't do anything because we have to work according to the World Bank rules and regulation only. Because that is going to affect one day to him, to that person, and by chance to that, if that person is doing something on the uh, with the help of the some people of the Indian people, and doing something for the country basically, and that is not law, that is basically not law to the World Bank basically. It's not basically, you can say the against the rule of the World Bank basically, in other language basically we can say. Then basically one day that country is also going to suffer. So basically mostly world the people who are working with the World Bank, they basically never do this type of thing, but basically they can do the help, basically as much help they can possible, they basically 100% do the basically other language basically, you can say the task which is happening in 15 days, that task will happen in 7 or 5 days basically. That basically, that type of help basically at least they can do basically, but up to major level help basically it's very difficult. That's basically different scenario. That is basically we are not talking about it here basically. We are talking here is the earthquake which I have already discussed, and that if the text box area basically earthquake happens, then basically rules applies of the text box basically. Text box basically is created from the thousand cities, and thousand cities has created the textbook, then basically rules gets apply here basically. Rules basically you can say that is basically the land rules, the buildings which is created rules. Uh, for example, there is one Infotech Park that is basically Hinjawadi in Pune. That basically assume that we in textbooks basically that Hinjawadi Park has also taken. So here basically Hinjawadi is basically Pune city, and Pune city basically Pune rule law basically gets applied basically. So that basically land have some certain rules and regulation. For example, I will take one example. For example, then there is one person has came for an interview, and he just sign in inside the gate, near the gate, and then basically he came inside the gate, and then basically SMS and mail has passed to each and every companies that basically this person has came for to submit the resume, and then basically just see basically up to what level the security is, and up to what level the cyber basically works basically because each and every people enters into the cyber world, they basically enters into the rules and regulation basically you can say. So basically that person basically came to submit the resume basically. So resume submission is basically you can say to the company, that is basically indirectly, not directly, basically directly indirectly you can say he is jumping into cyber world basically, and companies are also jumping into cyber world basically you can say, because few companies and nowadays basically each and every company basically takes the resume basically, because it might possible that cyber law gets applied to him, applied to company also it might be possible. So basically there are many ways basically cyber law works. So this is also basically if earthquake is happening, so which earthquake has happened, that also comes into the cyber law only, because the earthquake has happened, what is the reason basically. The reason is basically the World Bank which data they have passed, that due to that data and the existing data which was already exists, according that data basically got conflict. So the report came into picture that the earthquake has happened and the conflict has happened due to this data basically, the which has passed and which was passed by the cities, and the conflict has happened from the. So whatever the conflict has happened, that conflict has generated one report basically, you can say. So whatever the World Bank has data passed according to the object of the cities basically, and for example there is 1 lakh vehicles, 1 lakh car, 1 lakh, 2,000 buildings, then basically 1 lakh shops basically, then basically for 200 tanks basically of the water tank basically, 30 water lake basically. According to each and every the data is just to see basically up to what level the earthquake is connected basically. So basically each and every data has passed to the World Bank, and World Bank has told that take this basically data which basically we are going to provide, and basically government says that we want this subscription only, and World Bank has told that you can take that subscription. So basically depends upon the budget of the money basically. Yeah, the budget of the money basically, according to that basically subscription are taken basically, the subscription has taken, then according to that data has passed, and then so the data which has passed, that basically World Bank have the proof that we have passed this data on the base of your data passed. So that the data is also passed. Basically, each and every data which city exists in the city at that in the city, basically data whatever exists there, data exists. So that data basically is also passed by long before by the World Bank only. So basically here basically whatever conflict is going to happen, that basically it would not be very difficult to track basically, because each and every data is passed by the World Bank only. So that basically the data are going to passed by the world has passed, so that basically data are going to be checked, and which conflict here basically which matrix was not able to generate, due to that basically the stable data basically came into unstable data, and due to that unstable data, that basically earthquake has happened because the data was not stable. So like that basically earthquake has happened. So basically this also comes into cyber law basically. Cyber law means whatever data which comes into the internet and comes into the IT industry, and each and every data basically which connects to the power city, each and every data which connects to the energy level, everything basically which connects to the land, basically you can say that basically contains in comes into the cyber law. Nowadays basically I will take one more example. For example, there is one camera basically connected with the cities basically. For example, assume there is one lakh camera that is basically connected to the city. So earthquake is getting captured from that camera. So by default, basically that has that earthquake is also connected with the cyber law only. So one person is going in road basically, and something happened to that road. That person basically, so that camera has captured that. So basically, that also connected with the cyber law, because each and everything which is getting captured to the site to the camera, that basically by default basically it's connected to the connects to the cyber law basis. So it's just we see basically the cyber law is basically how they are entering the each and every industry, each and every field. Here basically they have entered in the road also basically. So like this basically we are stopping here, and we are going to talk a little bit more about in 46th part basically.